Close your eyes. Picture a woman you know who gets things done. We all know her. She's the one who shows up for problems, big and small. She doesn't back away until there's a solution on the table. It's like she has magical powers. We feel better when she's there. Hold her name, hold her image in your mind. You can open your eyes. This is important business. In order for our country to thrive, we have to tap the full talent pool it has to offer. And women are over half of our increasingly diverse talent pool. We're half the individuals accessing education, healthcare, housing, and more. We're half the individuals taking risks to build our own version of success. And we're half of the individuals who have perspectives and experiences to bring to policymaking in our country. Yet, in the over 500,000 elected offices nationwide, women represent just a fraction, from mayors of towns our size to Congress, of those elected offices. We are far from equal representation. But there is something we can all do. We can vote for the women who are brave enough to put themselves out there in our communities. We can encourage them to access resources that will help them run successful campaigns. We can fund them with dollars, big and small, so they can win their races. All of this is critical. But alone, it won't get us to equal representation. What about the millions of women and girls who have never even imagined the possibility? A little over a decade ago, I was tasked with pulling together all of the research that exists on the barriers that women face to elected office. And much of what I found remains true today. Starting at a very young age, girls are less likely to see themselves as elected officials. As they mature, they're more likely to question their qualifications. All the while, they are less likely to be encouraged to run for office. Now, don't get me wrong. There are plenty of women, some in this room, who wake up and know they've got what it takes. But there are plenty more who don't see themselves represented, don't hear or see a message otherwise, and therefore never even imagine that possibility. My thinking on how to approach this problem was jolted when about 5 years ago, I was invited by Mattel to advise on a major change that one of their brands was undergoing. It was Barbie. I was conflicted. Barbie was never really my thing. As a mom of 2 girls, I had certainly given some thought to Barbie versus no Barbie in our house. And I'll tell you that despite my efforts, one of my daughters became a pretty big Barbie lover, and it was not the first or the last time that I realized that there were forces at work that were much greater than my own manicured birthday lists. So I gave that counsel serious thought for 2 reasons, though. One, there were a number of individuals that I highly respected that were participating. And 2, I was really curious about this major change. That curiosity won over. I said, yes, let's do this. And then boom, like that, I was in LA. I was signing in at the front desk of this giant windowless building. And these folks were serious. NDA serious, take away all my electronics serious. Not too far into day one, some of the heads of departments laid out the reach of the brand and what's at stake when a brand this size makes a major change. The stat that stopped me in my tracks, Barbie has 99% recognition globally. That means that basically every household in the US with a girl has some exposure. They asked those of us on the council to share our experiences from childhood until adulthood. The room was pretty mixed. I shared as a mom. I wasn't exactly a brand super fan. They really pushed us to be honest. They seemed really sincere. I was a little skeptical. I knew that I represented a pretty big demographic for them in terms of my heavy-handed toy policing that I was doing with my own kids. We learned pretty early on that the change that we were consulting on was in motion. It was the addition of new body shapes to the Barbie collection. I'm sure some of you heard about it. Definite change. It was definitely a step in the right direction. And my experience with that was really interesting in that I got this peek behind the curtain on what it takes to make and market these dolls, but also the humans that make these changes happen. So, the creators, the marketers, and these folks, this is where I really had to check myself. They weren't who I expected. They really wanted to push the envelope. And they understood the power that they held. I felt the weight in the room of the change that they were making, the word choice, the images they were putting forth. And my mind was blown open to the opportunity that exists when you have this kind of reach. So when some of the department heads pulled me aside and asked if, in my capacity as a leader of a social change organization, I wanted to talk to them about a presidential doll, I said, yeah, let's talk about this. You see, the work of advancing women and girls in politics and leveling that playing field can often feel so insular. Like we're persuading the already persuaded. Like if you're not on message, you shouldn't be there. And that can result in what feels like a really uphill climb with painfully slow progress, with not enough hands on deck. And so my gut told me that a partnership like this was potentially game-changing, but also messy. I really would be lying if I said it was a slam dunk. We know that politics in this country is polarized, incredibly polarized. Well, so is the work of trying to get more women into office. Often you feel like only one group has license to participate. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have to see the opportunity in thinking big. We have to push outside of our echo chambers and invite women in who maybe have given no thought to the barriers that women face in leadership. We have to work hard to show up in places where all women are and give everyone an opportunity to participate. And that experience is why a Barbie partnership was exactly what we needed to do. We had to think big. We knew what was possible. And so in 2016, leveraging an active presidential election, in partnership with Barbie, we released the first ever President, Vice President Barbie. It was an all-female ticket in multiple ethnicities, and we broke through with a message about how girls can be anything they want to be, including President of the United States. Thank you. But you may have noticed that we have a long way to go. Women are still held to a higher standard on the campaign trail. Their qualifications are questioned in a way that men's just aren't, especially women of color. All the while, the public is largely moving to a place where they're open-minded about women serving in these positions of power, and often really surprised at how few serve. So how do we catch up with that message that we tell girls about their ability to be anything they want to be? Well, we use all creative means possible. We lean into what is messy about politics because we have to, because it is a pillar of power in our country that is necessary for our country to thrive. But what about those of us who don't have a built-in consumer base or an audience? Well, we turn to those we know. We turn to those we love. There is a shockingly simple solution to this really complex problem right here in this room. I want you to come back to that woman that you pictured when I was asking you to think about somebody who knows how to get things done. And I want you to take your phone out. I'm serious. Take your phone out. This is your chance. I want you to send her a message. This can be text, this can be email, whatever you do. A really simple message. Hey, I think you should run for office someday. We need you. That's it, that's all you're typing, so I'm gonna give you a minute. And then hit send when you're ready. I love this. This is the sound of action. With that action, collectively, you all have planted the seed for so many more women to imagine a new path for their leadership. And with that, we will close that time that it will take for us to get to a place where women's voices and perspectives are equally represented to men. And by doing that, our community, our states, our country, our future is stronger. Thank you.